All right, welcome to 94.9 32 FM. So here you have it in terms of smart kids and Sumbo. She talked about the Olubadan stuff happening on Friday, and it's important for you to know because history is important. So I hope your teachers will help you in terms of adding more to that. So we'll keep you on this dial, 94.9 32 FM, and I'm here for the next 15 minutes with Scoreboard in 15. So quickly, the headline has got to do with the NFF AGM happening this weekend. Weekend, AGM is the annual general meeting of the NFF will be taking place in Ibadan, and that's good in terms of bringing that to this part of town. That also will mean that the NFF chief weeks also will wait behind to watch the game between the Falconets and Rwanda. It's a return leg after the girls went away from home, got job done, and this time Ibadan will be hosting the girls. They've been in Ibadan for a few days now, so the girls come out in your numbers. They say the gates will be open, so you have to pay nothing. So it's a long weekend in Ibadan. After we're done with the Olubadan thing, if you're still in town, do well to go to the Lekan Salami Stadium on Saturday to watch good football. I also have that there will be some after party, the Olubadan stuff. So football will help you wrap up the weekend with the girls, and then you can head back to your station when you're done with that. So the Flying Eagles they're also intensifying training ahead of this year's FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Chile, and the head coach of this side, 𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐿, has been giving updates and helping intensifying training. And the last few minutes, the update from the media officer of the team, Sharif Abdallah, says that the Flying Eagles wrapped up training on Wednesday evening with a session at the catch-up training pitch in Santiago, Chile. 19 players trained under the watchful eyes of coach 𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐿 and his assistants. The session lasted for 2 hours between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. That's about 9 p.m., 11 p.m. in this part because of the time difference. So you have to put that in mind. It's about 4 hours in terms of the difference between Nigeria and Chile. Santiago, to be precise, the capital of Chile. The evening's training session is the final activity of the 12 days training camp before the team embarked on a trip to Talca City, south of Chile, and that will be later this morning. In another development, central defender Marvelous Freedom has been ruled out of the tournament as the Ikoyi City centre-back sustained knee injury and won't be back within the time frame for the competition. Marvelous Freedom received a rousing applause from his teammates and officials of the Flying Eagles has received a gift of a signed number 20 jersey. The player is expected back in Nigeria later today as the team will move to Talca in Santiago. In a swift reaction, the head coach of the side, 𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐿, has drafted Wiki Tourist defender Haruna Aliyu as a replacement for Marvelous Freedom. Haruna Aliyu is expected to arrive in Chile on Friday morning, and that means he might not be taking part in the first game when the Flying Eagles take to the pitch for this Under-20 FIFA World Cup. Let's head straight to the BBC, get their beat. When we come back, we'll switch attention from home-based news and get away because there were games last night, the AFL Cup games. And of course, when the games were done, the draws were made for the round of 16. I'll tell you about that. When we come back, the BBC will help us with how one Premier League team who is back in European football after 30 years could not get a win in Seville. And of course, some other news around the English Premier League club side. Who's there in the Premier League studio? Aviro. It's quite new to have him with us. We've used to Shabna Yunus' job, but this morning we've got a new man, Javi, will help us wrap up in 2 minutes. And when we come back, we can talk some news concerning European club football and a bit of tennis. Yes, we know we're done with all the Grand Slam of the year, but still some couple of ATP and the World Tour finals. Goes to the BBC. We'll go to the BBC for a couple of minutes, and when we come back, we've got more to share with you. 94.9 32 FM.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Hello, I'm Harry Roy at the BBC Sports Centre. Nottingham Forest have marked their nearly 30-year absence from European football with a 2-2 draw away at Spanish side Real Betis in the Europa League. Summer signing Igor Jesus gave Forest a 2-1 lead heading into half-time, but a late equaliser from the former Manchester United winger Anthony ensured the spoils were shared. There was also more League Cup football played yesterday. The holders Newcastle United are safely through to round 4 after beating the early League One leaders Bradford City by 4-1. Manchester City won 2-0 away at Huddersfield, where Phil Foden scored and assisted. Meanwhile, Tottenham beat Doncaster 3-0 and Arsenal avoided an upset at Port Vale, winning 2-0 away from home. It's been revealed that the Liverpool defender Giovanni Leone faces months on the sidelines after suffering a suspected ACL injury on his debut. The 18-year-old played 81 minutes of Tuesday's 2-1 League Cup third round win over Southampton before going off with the injury. Now tonight there is more Europa League action. Aston Villa are hosting Bologna in their opening game of the competition. It's been a tough start to the season for Unai Emery's men. They haven't won a game all season and only scored their first goal last weekend in a 1-1 draw against a newly promoted Sunderland side who were down to 10 men in that one. Despite that, Villa are one of the favourites to win the Europa League, and here's their defender 𝐒𝐍𝐒 𝐂𝐒.
It's a competition we want to win. I think any team that's in the competition want to win it. So for us, look, we're going to take it game by game. We obviously know the boss's record in Europa League. You know, it takes these competitions very seriously, and so do we. So look, we are contenders. We know that there is pressure, but you know, as players, we have to deal with pressure every week. So you know, it's nothing new.
And for more football news from the BBC, go to bbc.com/football.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
All right, thank you so much, Javi, for that. So there you have it in terms of the games, the results. I'll tell you the fixtures for the round 16, or say round 4 of this year's EFL Cup. But before that, let's talk some tennis. Word number 1, ख़ said on Wednesday that he will have to prepare for a new and improved Jannik Sinner after beating his great rival in the US Open a few months ago, flushing medals where he won that one. Italy's Sinner admitted he needed to overhaul his predictable game after losing to Alcaraz in New York earlier this month, in the latest of a string of recent defeats to his Spanish nemesis. Alcaraz is playing at the Japan Open in Tokyo this week, while Sinner will compete at China Open in Beijing in the first appearance since winning the US Open. So these guys are going different way. One is heading to Tokyo, the other one says, I will be in China, and at the point in time, these two will have to clash, but not in that tournament, somewhere else. Alcaraz said he would need to be ready for a different Sinner next time he faces the world number 2 on the court. So we'll wait. When will that be? Probably these guys will probably want to say, let's meet again in the final for the ATP World Tour Finals. Let's talk some football news before we wrap up the show this morning. And talking about Aston Villa, you heard from the BBC, yet to get a win in the Premier League, scored their first goal in the Premier League over the weekend when they got a point against Sunderland, and was the poll, talking about the poll who got them the only goal in that game. Got them the only goal, even though they got a point against Sunderland Football Club. We're playing 10 in that game, talking about Matt Cash. But tonight they'll be starting the UEFA Cup round, the UEFA Cup campaign, and Unai, who's some have said, I also said that he's one man who understands the UEFA Cup a lot. So the Birmingham-based side will be hoping that, hey, if Nottingham Forest have got, and Postecoglou says they're going to win again after helping Spurs win, you can also win because you've got the experience. But for Villa, it's been neither here nor there in the last few hours. Monchi, the sporting director, who have been helping Unai and the club to get some kind of good deals in player signing and, of course, player sales, left the club in the last 24 hours. So, but Villa have come out to say, you have no problem, Unai, your job is safe, even though we've had not the best of start of the season, but we're counting on you. So tonight, that counts start, because they'll be playing the game in the UEFA Cup later tonight. I'll share with you, but let's talk about how games went down. Just some selected results of games. 2 early kickoff. Midtjylland won against Sturm Graz of Austria by 2-0. Park of Greece played at the goalless draw against the Israeli side Mark Tel Aviv. It ended goalless. Fenerbahce lost to Dynamo Zagreb in Croatia by 3-1. Celtic with Kelechi Iheanacho scored the first goal last night, but they couldn't get a win against Serbia's side. Talking about Westerbeek, where the game ended 1-1. Basel, they lost to Freiburg in Germany by 2-1. Ludogorets of Bulgaria won away from home against Malmö of Sweden by 2-1. Roma went to the south of France, beat Nice by 2-1. Good there for the former head coach of Atalanta, talking about Gasperini, and Real Betis in Seville, 2-2 against Nottingham Forest, who are back to playing European football after 30 years, and Braga won against Feyenoord from Netherlands by 1-0. Let's talk about 3 games played in the La Liga last night, and was all about one man in one of those 3 games. Julian Alvarez scored 3 goals for Atletico Madrid as they came back to beat Rayo Vallecano by 3-2. That's like a Madrid derby, if you understand where Vallecano is based in Spain. So Atletico 3-2 against Rayo Vallecano. Sociedad won against Mallorca by 0-0. Getafe drew 1-1 against Deportivo Alaves. That was the early kickoff, and of course you had from the BBC the EFL Cup games that went down last night. For the round of 16, starting October 22, Arsenal will play against Brighton and Hove Albion. Arsenal will be playing at home after they won away from home against Port Vale last night. Grimsby we played against Brentford from London. Swansea against Manchester City. Holders Newcastle will play against UEFA Cup holders Tottenham Hotspur. Wrexham will play against Cardiff. Liverpool champions in the Premier League will come up against the FA Cup champions Crystal Palace. These two will do battle again this weekend in the Premier League. Wolves will play against Chelsea, and Wycombe will play against Fulham Football Club. So there you have it in terms of the fixtures for this year's EFL Cup round of 16. There were cup games in Italy last night, and quickly get that across to you. The Coppa Italia games. Parma won against Spezia by 2. That game ended 2-2. Parma won on penalties. Como, led by Fabregas, defeated Sassuolo by 3-2. The game between Hellas Verona and Venezia was postponed. There will be game today, like I mentioned, in the UEFA Cup. And I'll just tell you a few of those games that will be going down. Young Boys will be playing against Panathinaikos of Greece. Stuttgart will come up against Celta Vigo. Rangers, Scotland will play against Genk of Belgium. Ferencváros of Hungary will play against Victoria Plzen. Utrecht of Holland will play against Olympique Lyon. It's good to see them after we thought there will probably not be a room for them or a place for them in the UEFA Cup. But hey, that was not the case. Aston Villa at Villa Park will play against Bologna. Lille of France will play against Brian. And Go Ahead Eagles of Holland will play against FCSB. There you have it in terms of those games, starting with the early kicker of 5:45, and then the other games will come 8 later tonight. There will be 2 games in La Liga to wrap up the La Liga midweek games. Osasuna in Pamplona will play against Elche, and Real Oviedo will play against Football Club Barcelona. So there you have it, all cut out, all ready to go down later tonight. That will be the much we can take on the show this morning. We'll be back again 3:30 this afternoon for more, and that will be Scoreboard Reloaded. I am Peter Omo, 8 a.m. We'll have Baba Bender coming up, and that will be for 90